Welcome, cats and kittens, to a very special episode. In fact, the first ever episode of our new series called Pause and Reflect. I'm your host, Dr. Purrington, and the goal of this series will be to take you on an adventure through some of the games that I have been playing recently and/or new games that I've never touched in my life, giving you either first impressions or detailed impressions to hopefully allow you to make your own decisions when purchasing or trying out some of these fun, interesting new games that I've discovered. The first game that we will be reviewing is a game called Board of Bread, which I'm currently playing. This game came out December 5th, 2023, is developed by WildArts Studios and published by Dear Villagers. Board of Bread is described as a wacky and joyful RPG adventure, revisiting turn-based combat tropes. You play as Loaf, this little lovable guy in the red sweater right here. He's a flower golem who discovers an enchanting world full of humor, along with a colorful cast of buddies, including this little raccoon guy right here. At the beginning of the game, Loaf was in fact created by his father, Papa Baker, as a result of a bit of a magical mishap that led him to go out into the world on an adventure to find magical sunstones that are also being chased by a group of recently unearthed monsters who may not be as bad as they seem, but we're going to find that out along the way. Now, the first thing you may notice when you look at this game is holy cow, this looks exactly like Paper Mario. And it does. And it plays a lot like Paper Mario too, but I think it's a good thing. I think the fact that this game is emulating Paper Mario very heavily, to the point where, you know, even the menu system and combat system, the stickers, you know, the boons and things like that you can acquire in this game, they're all very reminiscent of Paper Mario. The RPG system, the way you level up, everything is very similar. I'll say that. But it all does it in a very positive way. It doesn't feel, you know, wildly copied or anything like that. It's certainly not a negative. What I will say is that it does make it its own game. It's very funny. The dialogue is exceptionally well done in this game. The combat is engaging. It does have its faults, but I'll go into those a little more deeply later on. But what I can say, one of the best strengths of this game is immersion. There's a lot of little bits and pieces of this game, even something as simple as saving, that is worked into the lore of the game. This is Dub. He's your saver. During parts of the game, you acquire this quote-unquote saver from an adventurer's guild. And the idea is that as an adventurer, you need to have someone record your journey for you. But Dub is the least wanted saver because he's constantly trying to update the adventurer's ability to save by using laptops and routers. As you can see, the saving icon is just a router tied to a balloon here, which he's set up across the world to help you out. Now, I will start by saying that I very much enjoy this game. I'll go through a couple of the, you know, the pros and cons as we're looking through this, and we'll do a little bit of straightforward gameplay just so you can see exactly how it runs. But overall, you know, you get to pet things, so that's pretty good. Overall, I find this game extremely enjoyable, and I would highly recommend anybody trying it. You can see it's kind of that 2.5D graphics. I guess that's the best way to describe it. It is a party-based RPG, so you can... Ooh, we're getting shot at here. You can, in fact, switch your party with various people that you meet along the way. Currently, I have Lint, who is a writer who is also a raccoon you discover in a forest. You can also employ Yagi, honorable, fearless, headstrong. He's a goat who enjoys martial arts. Shifting party members is seamless, I would say. You just go into the menu and just kind of swap them out really quick. You can also upgrade your party members with sort of a host of like skills and attacks. I very much like this system. It can be a little complicated. It doesn't always tell you exactly what you need to unlock these. But the gist is you go through the game and you find little collectibles, and you can use those collectibles to get new skills. My only gripe here is that a lot of these attacks are kind of similar to each other. So oftentimes you'll find one that really works, and then the others are just kind of pointless. Combat is not wildly difficult in this game. There is a system of weaknesses and resistances. It's a little difficult to capture at first, but once you start memorizing everything and start playing through the game, you kind of get the system down pat. It's very similar to a Pokemon type system where some things have weaknesses, some things have resistances, and it goes in a circle. But overall, it's not terribly difficult. So I'll show you a little bit of the combat here as we go up to that strange little green thing who's flopping around. Again, very similar to Paper Mario. You can walk up to enemies. You can kind of get like a priority attack on them if you time it correctly. Or they can get a priority attack on you, as you've seen there. But what I really love about this game is the immersion. So, if you see in the background, Dub is currently live streaming our battle. And you can hide this if it bugs you, which is, again, just a little nice feature, right? If you just want to play a straightforward RPG. But you can actually have a chat of, they're not real people, but you can have a chat of people watching your battle. And there's a lot of different variants to these. Every once in a while you'll see a repeat, but when you're going through the battles, it feels very live streamed, right? It's people constantly reacting to the way that you're playing the game. There's also a system in which people who are watching your quote-unquote live stream of the battle can make requests. So if you play your cards right, you get a request to pop up. I'll show you a little bit of the comment there. Alright, so no request pop up, that's fine. But you can get a request to pop up, and that will allow you to earn an item or extra mana, as a result of completing whatever quest they want. And the quests are pretty simple. Attack something, defend, use an item, stuff like that. Like general RPGs, this game has just a couple of basic stats for mid-battles. You can see up in the upper left corner, Loaf and Yagi have their own HP. Very rarely does Yagi get attacked, or I should say, very rarely does your partner get attacked, unless you purposely switch them out to take the hit, which is nice. Loaf is going to have significantly more HP regardless. But if Loaf is in danger, you can kind of push your side character up to the front to take the brunt of the attacks. And that way you don't just automatically die because, Loaf's been hanging around the front of the battle too long. The WP is basically mana. Those are called will points in this game. The mana allows you to do special types of attacks. So the mana is shared between the characters. If you want to do anything unique, you can see what the will point cost is on the side. It's very straightforward. They all have different fancy names whenever you play a different RPG, but for the most part, you could just think of it as, oh, this is my mana. It costs 5 mana to do Roundhouse Kick. Again, similar to Paper Mario type games, but giving its own twist. Whenever you do combat in this game, the different attacks all have different prompts. And you can read what those prompts are when you use the attack. So Roundhouse Kick, press X when the meter reaches green. Inferno is successively press buttons that appear on the screen before the timer runs out. Astral Projection is press each button prompted on the wheel once they reach the top. So, while I will say, to a mild fault, when you're first starting out of the game, a lot of the combat is a bit repetitive because you don't have a lot of options regarding your attacks. Once you start getting more abilities, once you start gaining new powers and attacks, those prompts start to get very varied, and it can be kind of fun because it stops the fights from becoming too repetitive, if that makes sense. And I'll show you an example. We can use astral projection here. It's not all, as you saw earlier, just a wheel and you have to click X when it hits the right spot, right? If I do astral projection against this guy, you can see I have to kind of like hit the prompts in the right order right as they're hitting that top circle. Now there is a system in this game where you can kind of time your attacks and defends to have them be more effective. So if I want to attack this guy, I can swing at him like that. If I just want to defend this attack, I can hold that, and then if I time hitting the X button correctly, you saw like a little flash pop up. That will enable me to take less damage during that attack. The actual attacks themselves don't have that system. You just use the willpower and whatever prompts they need to get increased damage. This is just me swinging the controller back and forth, but it's quite effective. And every time you end the fight, you get a little bit of experience, a couple of items or money drops from the enemy, and that's about it for the combat. They do have large-scale boss battles in this game. We just fought one of those not too long ago. That can go on a little longer. You need to, manage your items a little better, stuff like that. Again, the combat isn't wildly difficult in this game. It's more meant to be like a fun, engaging exploration game where you're going through doing side quests, and there are a lot of side quests, which is nice. There's a lot of content to enjoy in the game. But the combat itself is not terribly difficult. If you get lots of will points for your characters, then you can dish out an enormous amount of damage very quickly. I've got 45 will points. Yagi's roundhouse kick can do 12 damage to some enemies. And when you're up against the boss, and even the bosses, they have maybe, 50, 60 HP at this point. Yeah, it can end the fight pretty quickly. But it's not a bad thing, you can make the game as difficult or as easy as you'd like. There is another system in the game for doing extra special attacks, but I don't use it that often, and maybe that's one of the faults, is that there's a lot of options that you can do in this game combat-wise, and you don't really end up doing all of them. Most of the time when I'm engaging in combat, I end up using the same couple of attacks in a row, just because dealing damage is wildly more effective than oftentimes trying to put enemies to sleep, or attempting to lower their defenses. But I'm also relatively early in the game, so it's entirely possible that those types of engagements change, and the needs change depending on the difficulty of the enemies. But yeah, I really, really like the aesthetics of this game. The graphics are great. The map layout is exceptional. Some of the maps are gigantic, and you can see all the way back. We're at the back of the map right now, as we're heading back to our main town as part of the main quest. But you can just look all the way back and see the areas that you can explore, and see items that you can collect, see places that you can interact with, that sort of thing. The graphics are exceptional. The characters are really well designed. Everybody has their own personalities, and nobody's voiced, unfortunately. But you can kind of infer the voices just from the way that they act and the way they talk. Their facial expressions are great. Everybody has very unique reactions to the world around them. And to further make characters unique, every character tends to have a special ability. Yagi's is meditation, in which he can, access the astral plane and summon these little lily pads from a different dimension so that you can traverse certain areas you wouldn't normally be able to traverse. And when you turn it off, he just warps back to you, but just a slight graphical limitation. It's nothing wildly deterring. I think one of the, again, very, very, very slight negatives in the game is that while the combat may not be outwardly repetitive, there doesn't seem to be yet a way for me to avoid fighting enemies that are not going to give me any experience points. A good chunk of this game involves you kind of going back and forth between areas that you've already been in. And it's always a new and exciting story. I don't think that's a bad thing at all. But the enemies don't update. So when you go back into the old areas, you've got these little level 1 enemies that will give you 1 experience point, and you kind of just have to avoid them. There's no, oh, I can do a priority attack and they automatically die, and I just get the XP right away. Which some modern RPGs have, understanding that you don't want to run into level 1 enemies and spend 30 seconds fighting something that isn't going to give you any bonuses or progression towards your levels. But yeah, I'll just quickly use some fun attacks against this guy. This is the Meteor Knife. You have to time it correctly so that you're hitting X when it hits the... Whoops, I messed up one. But, it's a meteor, so it's coming down constantly. And there's those little bits of fun that the game has. They tailor the weapons and the attacks to their names, their types, very specifically. The game likes to have fun with itself. And likewise, you can just do, normal attacks and get through most battles perfectly fine. You don't have to use mana or anything exceptionally fancy to beat most of the basic enemies, even when they're in new areas, Through battles and through collection, you're constantly getting items. Items can range from increasing your RP, your MP, WP, sorry, and your HP, to giving you temporary bonuses in battle, stuff like that. I'm just going to go ahead and use this chocolate cake. Or I'm going to throw the chocolate cake out of my inventory, apparently. I'll eat some mochi ice cream, get back some WP, and then collect this again. Something I did notice at the beginning of the game was that inventory is quite limited, but over time you do engage in quests that will increase the size of your inventory. So if you are planning to play this and you do notice right at the beginning of the game that your inventory fills up quite often and you're constantly needing to throw items away, I would highly recommend doing side quests, because a lot of the side quests will give you those increases to your inventory space. Oh, I messed that up. So let's try something strong here. We'll do Roundhouse Kick. This one's pretty fast, so you gotta time it correctly. Alright. Mess up the timing a little bit, but even if you mess up the timing, you still deal damage. It's more like, if you do everything correctly, you do extra damage. That's the best way to think about it. I'll just drop that. I don't need it. But yeah, you can see here, we were all the way back by those bamboo shoots, and you can still see it. You see, it's clear as day. There's no fog to give the game an excuse to not show you all the beautiful art that you can see in this game. It's very well made. It's very well developed. You can tell that there was a lot of love in this game. Again, there's no voice acting, unfortunately, but it's not as big of a deterrent as you'd think. The enemies have their own little noises and personalities that give them more than enough of a... not sure what the word would be. It gives them enough of an emotional voice that you don't necessarily need the voice acting in this game. And who knows, maybe that was just a technical limitation as well. But either way, it's not a wild deterrent to the quality of the game. I like the tips in the corner as well. The bigger the level, the longer the loading. Thanks, game. The game is no stranger to poking fun of itself every now and then. it really leans into the 2.5D as well. You know, everything's got its own little, like, again, that Paper Mario quality where it's that flat 2D. You know, there's no dynamic range to what Loaf is or what the characters are. But then you get these buildings, you can tell they're 3D. These little um, barrels of hay, obviously they're 3D. But then the characters, you can say they're very clearly, you know, just that flat 2D with little shadows coming off of them. And it's fun, it really adds to the cute aesthetic of the game. This is what I was talking about earlier. I don't think I have any of these items to hand in, but there's small collectibles in the game, little salamanders. And if you hand in, oh, I did, okay. If you hand these in to this lady, as you collect them throughout the game, you can hear them, which is pretty cool. You can hear them way before you see them. They're snoring, and so they make a little wheezing sound. Every time you collect 2 of them, you hand them into this lady, and she will give you skill points so that you can upgrade the skills of your characters. The characters that you acquire come through the story itself. So when I initially met Lint, he was alone in a forest and we helped him out. When I met Yagi, he was entering a martial arts tournament and we joined him for that as well. Each of the characters is quite humorous. Like I said, they've got their own personalities, so nobody feels repetitive. Even the enemies have their own personalities, which is pretty fun. It definitely feels like one of those games where, and hopefully this isn't a wild spoiler, but it feels like one of those games where the enemies are going to become your friends at some point. But I also haven't played through the entire game, so what do I know? I just absolutely love the ambiance in this game. And the music is not bad too. I'm sure you can hear it in the background. Every area has its own music. So we were in sort of like a Himalayas-inspired, a Tibet-inspired area earlier in the game, and it had wonderful music playing with sitars and other cultural instruments. Now that we're in this open farmland, it's just got this nice chill music. And here we go. You can see how characters' facial expressions change. Poor Lope's a little surprised that someone's yelling out to him, so he's got that gritted teeth, those little lines around his eyes. There's a lot of emotion in the game that makes it very enjoyable. Again, the character design is crazy. This guy is just a chunk of ciabatta bread or cheese? I have no idea, but he's pretty fun. These are members from the Savers Guild, so or the Adventurers Guild. So they're attempting to grab us while we're coming back into town for the main quest. We did win the tournament, that's true. There was a large martial arts tournament that we had to fight. You go through individual challenges, and then one of the evil guys comes through and just kind of brute forces his way through all the challenges. There's a lot of humor in this game, and it makes it very enjoyable. We did win the tournament. Again, like this Yagi's little face, right? He's like, yeah, we don't want to brag, but it totally is. You can hear the voices, right? They do a really good job with the faces in this game. And our main goal here was to show that we were good enough heroes to share a quest with the #1 hero, who's a very brash individual, but she's also the strongest hero, so she's got a reason to be so. Again, everyone's faces. So we wanted to go join the #1 hero on this quest, but apparently she just left us. Oh, I like how everybody's mad except for Lynn, who's just really sad about it. And again, that harkens back to that personality, right? You know, Lind has a very self-conscious personality where he doesn't think he's good enough. He's worried that his family's left him behind in this story. And, you know, that's reflected in the way that he reacts to things. Whereas Yagi is just a very brash person, so when he sees that someone's slighted him, he's just angry about it. And Loaf's just over here going, whatever, I was made a couple days ago. She is very strong, that's true. Okay, so she's gonna try and basically steal the quest from us, and that quest is to recover some Sunstone shards that the evil characters are currently trying to fight. Yeah, she definitely doesn't want to team up with us. And it's an interesting part of the story too, because you can tell that there are good heroes in this game beyond you guys, and they're all professionals. But then there are some heroes that aren't quite as noble, and you're kind of maneuvering your way through an adventure in which all these people are interacting with you, and sometimes they want to help you, and sometimes you're just getting in their way, and they want to push you out of it. So this is one of those instances, but most of the heroes that we've interacted with have been quite positive. And this is the main town as well. Again, it's got that very Paper Mario feel, especially the most recent Paper Marios, where they lean much more heavily into the 3D aspects, while also trying to maintain the 2D aspects. But you can tell the buildings are 3D, the world around you is pretty 3D, but the people, they've got that 2D going on. And there's all these different NPCs you can talk to, and sometimes their dialogue changes, so it is worth interacting with folks every now and then. Characters also have multiple lines of dialogue. So if you ever see someone around, you can talk to them multiple times, and you won't always get the same NPC reactions. Throughout the world, there's also these little barrels and such that you can break. Sometimes they're boxes, sometimes they're barrels, sometimes they're vases. In every area, they change a little bit. Just places to find, you know, items, money. Clovers in this game are money. Oh, hello, sir. Oh, what a jerk. Some people are just jerks. This is Papa Baker's Bakery. I like how you enter in buildings as well. You can kind of see the outside for a bit before you kind of move in and enter everything. It gives everything that, again, that constructed feel that you see in these types of RPGs. But it's also very aesthetically pleasing. There's things all over the place. There's no giant empty areas, you know. There's leaves falling from the sky. There's bread being baked. There's steam rising from a pot in the background. All these little things just help make the game feel more alive. And they've got a lot of meme culture jokes in here as well. We brought a new friend, the goat Yagi. He's the greatest of all time. And there are a lot of cinema scenes in the game too, so you don't feel like you're just constantly running back and forth doing fetch quests or something like that. Even the side quests have nice cinema scenes like this, where it kind of pulls you in real close, you get dialogue from the individual characters, and you get a lot of story as well. Sometimes the quests are as simple as just fetching something, but even then, you know, you're interacting with the person that you give it to. They're moving in and out of the distance and the proximity to the screen, so that you've got that that dynamic feel to the cinema scenes. Hey, we got Lotus Tea. Okay, and this is cool too. Because we got a special item from finishing a quest just recently, Loaf has earned a new special attack. And those special attacks are what you use with that RP. the other limited resource beyond WP, which is, again, basically just a different type of mana. But those can be used to heal all of your characters, increase Loaf's defense, or, whatever this one might be. Since it's new, I have no idea. Oh, nice, and a trophy as well. Oh, and here's the evil cast of characters, too. Again, they're very haphazard. They're not terribly good at being evil. They were sealed away quite a long time ago, and the little guy here, Jester, is their leader. Even though none of them are particularly good at what they do. Klein is the guy that we beat up in the last story quest. But yeah, they're slowly collecting the Sunstone shards so that he can revive his father to find out why he was banished and sealed away. Oh. We did give him quite a thrashing in the last one. But again, everybody's got their own faces, right? It's not just, oh, I'm tired, I'm gonna go sit down, and he leaves the screen. He falls over, everybody reacts to it. Sid's got that face like, what is happening with you? And it's cute, right? They all care about each other a little bit. They're not just pure evil, right? They're all friends. They're almost a family. It's a cute dynamic to go along with, Loaf, who's got his own family of friends that he's building up, but they're on the good side, whereas this is kind of a family of friends on the bad side of the story. Oh, see, they care about their brother, It's fun. If you saw in the background, there was a little fake Papa Baker that they were using to try to trick me earlier, and our characters just walked past it because they didn't even care. They're like, oh, that's clearly not real. And then I think one of the evil guys got caught in it by mistake. They definitely put a lot of effort into the background stuff in this game. Whether that's, the combat being very immersive with the live streaming, they make it all part of the lore of the game. Or just little things happening in the cinema scenes, everybody having their own emotions, everybody, the text and the text boxes changing when somebody is shocked or sad. A lot of quality went into this game. You can tell that they cared about what they were doing, and they had a lot of fun with it. You could find a lot of little meme Easter eggs in the game. There's a photo of Loaf and his father that represents that sweater-wearing father and son meme. You can find it on the internet sometimes. Just little bits and pieces like that just really do make the game feel more alive. I'll see if I can find it up here. There it is. Yeah, see on the left side there. Yeah, and places like this evolve as well. This martial arts poster didn't used to be up there before, but now that we've won it, Lopez put up the poster on his bedroom to show, hey, you know, I won the martial arts tournament. And to me, things like that are very important. I've played a lot of RPGs in my time, and some of them, maybe soulless isn't the right word, but there's gotta be a level of heart to what you're doing in the game. And this game 100% has a lot of heart. I love it when games pay attention to the background. I love it when they put little extra quality of life improvements in this game. And this game definitely has a lot of quality of life improvements. It treats itself as an old school RPG with old school RPG tropes and combat, but it makes them enjoyable. It makes them seamless. Makes switching characters seamless. It makes acquiring new abilities seamless. It makes going from level to level seamless. Even though there's a couple of loading screens, it never feels like you're stuck somewhere or that your adventure is being interrupted in some way. It's very easy to get immersed. It's very easy to feel like you are Loaf. You are traversing with your friends through this bright and brilliant world that they've created. And I very much appreciate when developers go the extra mile to make that sort of engagement. I think that is where we are going to call this video for today. I hope you guys got sort of a feel for how Born of Bread plays and runs. Again, I highly recommend this game. It's like $30. It's not even, you know, a full $60 game or something. If it was a $60, $70 game, I'd be more hesitant to try it. But because of the current price range, and you know, it's even been on sale a couple times since it came out, which was, again, December 3rd or 5th or something like that. You know, it's the bar of entry is low, and the enjoyment that I think you will get out of this game is very high. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, guys. If you have any tips or suggestions for how we can make these videos better or more engaging, if you'd like me to try any specific games, you are more than welcome to suggest them in the comments below. Otherwise, please like, and if you very much enjoy us, subscribe to the channel so that you can see more of these videos. You can also check me out every couple of days or so on my Twitch channel, which is twitch.tv/Dr. Purrington, and those links will be provided in the About section below as well. As always, folks, entertaining you is my Hippocratic oath, and I hope you had a lovely time watching. Please.